Police are calling it a murder-suicide. Happened inside a house on Cass Lake Road, just south of Orchard Lake.
World's name would make a lovely mother, a perfect wife, and a dedicated religious lady turn a monster overnight. This is the case of Lauren Stuart. What prompted her to carry out this hideous crime? Come along with us as we take a closer look at this disheartening story. This is Unsolved Files, a place where crime stories are being brought to your doorstep. What are you waiting for? Just hit the subscribe button for more fascinating and suspense-filled crime stories. Now, let's get back into this story and uncover this mystery. To those who knew her only on the surface, the 45-year-old Lauren Stuart was the picture of perfection. A devoted wife to her husband Dan, as well as a loving mother to her adult children. What those viewing the cozy life Lauren had carved out for herself in the upscale Kego Harbor area of Michigan from afar didn't know that, underneath the pretty packaging, a storm was brewing. When she finally revealed the turmoil that had been eating away at her, it would be in the form of a mass murder and suicide that would devastate a community and leave many wondering if being shunned from the church she held dear had led her down the path of destruction. Weeks before her unthinkable act, she delved into a dark world, exploring haunting paths on YouTube, delving into methods of ending her own life, and mastering the use of a Glock handgun. But did she succeed in carrying out this hideous plan? Let's find out and see what happens. Lauren Devine Stuart, who was born on January 9, 1973, spent most of her life in Michigan. She and her husband Daniel were each Jehovah's Witnesses for many years until about 2012, when they decided to explore and take a different approach to their spiritual lives. The couple raised two children, Stephen, who was 25, and Bethany, who was 27 years old. Both of their kids were college graduates. The family has lived in the town of Kego Harbor for nearly 2 decades. However, Daniel, Lauren's husband, worked for the University of Michigan at the forefront of technological innovation. He served as a lead software architect, dedicated to developing technology for predicting heart attacks. He also worked in the technology industry for many years as a Coda developer. Lauren, on the other hand, had several jobs. She was once a part-time personal trainer at YMCA in the town of Farmington Hills, and sometimes she was also a house cleaner. After leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses, she pursued modeling and acting, exploring her creative side through workshops and networking with photographers. She was regarded as a charming and very pleasant woman. According to one of her profiles on the internet, she wrote that she loves acting and modeling. She added that she was a very passionate person and that it reflected in her work. Lauren was adventurous by nature, so she liked a wide variety of acting and modeling experiences. She enjoys learning new things, especially with good direction. Sharing relative ideas, new and old, intrigues her. However, Lauren believed life was an adventure and her goal was to die, knowing that she did the things she wanted to do. Nevertheless, at 45, Lauren had a flourishing and blossoming life, as both of her children were accomplished. Stephen was a data solution architect and a computer scientist. Stephen, just like his father, shared a passion for technology, while Bethany showcased her talents in art and graphic design. She had educated children, loving husband, a budding modeling career, and a charming Kego Harbor home was adorned with a welcoming heart wreath on the door. But behind this facade of perfection lurked a hidden pain. Lauren grappled with the heartache of exclusion and rejection from the religion she and Daniel were born into. You see, just a few years ago, Lauren and her husband chose to break away from the Jehovah's Witness faith, a Christian denomination known for its strict indoctrination and the practice of shunning former members. The idyllic exterior masked a complex web of emotions and choices that would soon unravel into a gripping narrative. Now, up until 2013, Lauren and her family had been devout Jehovah's Witnesses, strictly adhering to beliefs that shunned celebrations like birthdays, Easter, Christmas, or any other event they believed went against the teachings of Christ. In addition, their faith strongly discouraged higher education, putting Stephen and Bethany at risk of being excommunicated if they pursued college in the future. Dan, however, envisioned a brighter future for their children through higher education. When they sought approval from the church elders to let their kids pursue degrees, the response was resolute: disobey the church's policies and face disfellowship. This threat weighed heavily on them, as almost everyone they knew, including their extended family, was part of the congregation, and according to the church's rules, excommunication would mean complete isolation, even from their own flesh and blood. After careful consideration, the Stuarts made a bold decision to leave the religion they had long embraced. Although it initially felt right, the community's disapproval became unbearable, especially for Lauren. She described how simple tasks like grocery shopping were marred by dirty looks and hurtful comments from once believed friends. Now, even though the belittling remarks were not spoken directly to her, They were intentionally made within earshot. Residing in a small community of just 3,300 residents, many of whom were Jehovah's Witnesses, the Stewarts grappled with the reality that the members on good terms with the church would consistently remind them of their outcast status whenever the opportunity presented itself. This emotional burden took its toll, leading to a breaking point. In search of a lifeline, Lauren turned to the gym, making it a regular part of her life to rebuild her physical well-being. Her transformation was so remarkable that she secured a job as a fitness instructor, leveraging her natural beauty to become a model with surprising success. To those who crossed her path during this time, Laura appeared pleasant, exuding optimism despite her church's rejection, yet beneath her facade of confident lay a profound and unimaginable suffering. Chronic depression was an affliction she battled with even before the shunning. It intensified with each passing day, desperately masking her inner turmoil. Occasionally, she reveals cracks in her facade, quickly concealing them with a fake smile. One of Lauren's most guarded secrets was the family's crippling debt, pushing them to the edge of ruin. Faced with a dual onslaught of financial and emotional distress, she devised a plan to resolve all her problems at once, haunted by her inner demons. Lauren Stewart's descent into darkness was both chilling and heartbreaking. She delved into grim research, scouring YouTube for methods of ending her own life and instructional videos on handling a handgun, all leading up to a fateful day. On February 15th, 2018, she left a poignant note on the dinner table, meticulously tidied the home, and texted her loved ones, as well as her husband's boss. Just before the unthinkable act, she turned over all the family photos on a secretary desk. At exactly 9:24 a.m., she sent a message to her husband's boss that said, "Mark, this is Lauren. Dan had an accident this morning and died. I can't talk now. Someone will inform you later on the details at the hospital." Upon receiving the message, the boss reached out for further details but got no response. Hours later, at 5:07 p.m., on the same day, she reached out to her cousin, confessing she had become evil and said the following words, "I took my husband and kids with me so that they don't have to feel my selfish act. They will sleep until Christ resurrects them. I truly hope you do better where I failed." To which her cousin replied to her message saying, "Lauren, you are scaring me. What are you saying? Don't do it, Lauren." In any case, Lauren has become more and more detached from reality in recent months. Unknown to her family, she had a pistol in her possession and had tragically decided to turn it against the very same people she professed to love. This disheartening compilation of her internal torment resulted in a devastating series of actions of which she obviously wasn't proud of. However, she made her 47-year-old husband, Dan, her first victim, having neutralized her biggest threat. She then headed upstairs to where her daughter was fast asleep in her room. When she got there, she, however, positioned herself a few feet from the bed where Lauren pointed a gun at Bethany and pulled the trigger. The gifted graphic designer who had celebrated her 24th birthday a month earlier died instantly. The next victim would be her son, Stephen. Now, Stephen, who had his own place across town, unknowingly arrived at the family home lured by false pretenses, oblivious to the imminent danger, and busied himself with the task his mother had prepared. With his back turned, unaware of what was coming, Lauren, the mother he loved, shot him at point-blank range. The horrifying scene didn't end there. Lauren took the life of the family dog, placing its body in the bathtub. A neighbor had heard these shots, but assumed someone was slamming doors. As the house became a chilling temporary mortuary, she meticulously tidied up. The darkness culminated as Lauren turned the gun on herself, using a method she had researched online. The cousin who Lauren had texted tried texting her back, but Lauren never responded. The cousin went over to her house the following morning, February 16th, with a friend. With no response at the door, they contacted the police for a welfare check.
Let's move to police dispatch, Arnett.
Hi, is this the Kegel Harbor Police?
We dispatch for Kegel. Can I help you?
Yes. A friend of mine got a very weird text from her, suicide text from her cousin, and so we've stopped by the house to make sure everything's okay, and there's no activity, and we don't really want to go in, but nobody's answering the door, so we would like to have a police officer come to maybe open the door.
What is the
address? Cass Lake Road.
When police arrived at the house on February 16th in the morning and the kitchen was organized, the refrigerator was stocked, various products had handwritten labels, and a calendar was hung on the refrigerator. Their discovery began with the family dog in the bathtub, which elicited a terrifying response from the officers, who feared an active shooter. "Get your gun, there's a dead dog in the tub," one had yelled to a companion. Climbing a spiral staircase to the second level, they discovered Stephen Stuart on the floor, which seems to have been shot while seated in a chair. Bethany lay lifeless in another room, shot in her sleep with a pillow that muffled the sound. There were additional gunshots visible on the pillowcase. Dan Stuart was found on the basement floor, in front of a couch, with his right hand still in his trousers pocket. The slightly ripped white pocket liner in his left pocket indicates he was standing when he was shot and tried to react by pulling the pocket liner. Lauren was discovered at the bottom of the steps, armed with a pistol, her self-inflicted wound between the eyes reflecting her online study. Lauren's inner conflict was revealed when 2 notes were discovered on the dinner table. One for the medical examiner, and the other, a terrifying suicide note. Lauren wrote, "I allowed evil into my heart when I chose not to accept God's free love, and it made me sick on the inside. I murdered my family because I knew my death would be discovered by them. At the very least, they will no longer suffer and will be restored to eternal life in peace." As the police investigated Stuart's world, interviews with family members, acquaintances, and neighbors revealed a complicated and perplexing picture of the couple as reclusive.
Jump on the trampoline with her and collect rocks and stuff when we were kids.
Defined by a sense of separation. Lauren's history was tainted by her personal troubles after quitting the Jehovah's Witness Church. According to family members, Lauren, who had 11 siblings, suffered from depression, which was subsequently exacerbated by the stress of motherhood. In recent years, she has been obsessed with religion, frequently launching ardent ties. Her family members, including her father and sister, disclosed the magnitude of the emotional isolation that had developed over time, and that she had not spoken. Her mother died when she was 13 years old. For years, they were separated. They saw Dan as the catalyst who drew Lauren away from them and never really cared about him. They also revealed disturbing details about the couple's mental condition, describing their relationship as a fusion of mutual anguish. Lauren's rejection of the Jehovah's Witness faith was labeled an apostasy by many who knew her, a title that testified to her public hostility to the organization and her choice to quit it. The heartbreaking incident left a significant scar on the lives of people who knew the family well. Joyce Taylor, a long-standing family friend, was clearly frightened, believing that the murders were a direct result of the Stuarts' rejection by the Jehovah's Witnesses. Taylor and other former members shed insight on the terrible reality of quitting the church. They stated that after you leave the religion, even your own family members who stay in its fold are barred from having contact with you, a harsh type of shunning that is very draining. Lauren and Daniel's ambition to equip their children with a college degree, according to Taylor, met head-on with the religion's doctrines, which frowned on such pursuits. The clash between their desires and their faith's rigorous teachings set the stage for a disastrous unraveling. They were avoided everywhere and in every way. When Lauren went to the grocery store, no one looked her in the eyes, according to Taylor. When you are nurtured as a Jehovah's Witness, they pick your friends, they determine who you associate with, and if you go against that, they will disfellowship or reject you. Joyce Taylor burst into a Kingdom Hall gathering in Union Lake, taking advantage of the opportunity to confront the crowd. Standing on a chair, she aggressively chastised the gathering, her voice ringing with a mix of rage and grief. "Excuse me, everyone," she said. "My name is Joyce Taylor, and 2 days ago, 4 individuals perished as a result of your shunning Stuart." Taylor's outburst sent shockwaves through the room as she pushed aside attendees and shouted her pent-up rage. She stated that 5 years ago, you people withdrew your support from this tiny family. The only support they had was you people, and you turned them away and ostracized them for what she said because they wanted to raise their children.
Hey everyone, my name is Joyce Taylor. Please excuse the intrusion, I'll only be a moment. No, you cannot touch me. You cannot touch me. 2 days ago, 2 days ago, you're awake for a minute. No, we may have 2 days ago, you can call the police, please do. 2 days ago, Dan and Lauren Stuart died. 4 people died as a result of your shunning process. Can we go in the back and talk? No. 5 years ago, all of you pulled your support from this small family. From this small family.
Please get down.
And you all, do not touch me! Do not touch me!
As they thought fit, the police were aware of the family's problems with their old church, but declined to comment. According to police documents, Lauren filmed a touching 2-minute video on February 6th at 11:04 p.m. She mentioned a variety of factors in describing the depths of her misery, stating her inability to continue and her desire not to bother people anymore. However, after being abandoned by her religion and family, Lauren found herself sinking in a never-ending sea of sadness, with death as her only escape. Convinced that killing her own life was the only way to stop her intolerable pain, she took the agonizing decision to also terminate the lives of her loved ones. sparing them the disgrace and sorrow that her acts would bring upon their home. In the days leading up to the catastrophe, police records provided a bleak picture of Lauren's mental health, highlighting her evident indications of severe sadness and increasingly strange conduct. It looked that she had become engrossed with a personal interpretation of religion, which had contributed to her despair. Surprisingly, she never sought professional aid or therapy, and there was no evidence of prescription medicines or alcohol in her system. However, marijuana traces were identified not just in Lauren's system, but also in the systems of her husband and boys. Loneliness, severed ties with family and friends due to religious differences, and deep-seated emotional scars from alleged childhood sexual abuse all converged to amplify her anguish, ultimately driving her to commit the unthinkable. According to the police investigation, Lauren's sister's response, which revealed how far Lauren had drifted from her own sister and even showed little regret about the tragedy, was a striking testament to the estrangement within the family. She expressed a surprising lack of surprise and a somber demeanor upon learning of her sister's actions. Although Lauren Stewart's horrific acts may have been motivated by her childhood trauma and the extreme seclusion she experienced from her previous religion, it raises the issue of whether events might have turned out differently had she asked for assistance when she felt trapped by her situation. Unfortunately, Lauren chose a road of self-destruction that had disastrous results for everyone involved, rather than getting counseling or expert advice. Our sympathies are with the victims whose lives were brutally cut short and the loved ones they left behind as we consider this devastating story. Oh well, what would you do if the ones that matter most in your life rejected you and shut you out of their lives? Let us know what you would do in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and turn on the notification bell for more of these intriguing crime videos. Also, you can check out this next video on your screen to see. Detectives stunned by an unbelievable case. What are you still waiting for? Go unsolve the case. See you in our next video.